Hello. So I recently finished WarioWare Get It Together. So the base game takes 3 to 4 hours depending on how tripped up you get on using specific characters and on the mini games. And I got tripped up on like three of the characters. I think kind of couldn't get my head around using them. Um, and there was like I don't know, like I'd say like two or three mini games per section of mini games that I would get stuck on. But I eventually got past it. Let's put it that way. I'd say it might take up to 5 hours if you don't use any continues. I did eventually just start using the in-game currency to continue because I was like, yeah, you know what? This is wasting my time, and I was tired of being stuck on that level. Let's put it that way. Um, so the difficulty kind of varies. It depends, I guess, on the mini game and if you're good at those type of games. I'd say if you're good at any WarioWare game, you're good at this WarioWare game. It's the same concept as most of them. You use the left stick or D-pad. I think you can use the D-pad. I use the stick because there's times you need to angle and that's better. Anyway, and then one button, letter A. Although pressing B works too because I hit it once and it worked. Anyway, each character has their own unique style of usage in the mini games. Most of the mini games are catered towards certain characters, although the mini games can be played by multiple different characters. Some characters are better at certain mini games than others, and yada 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 yada. The game will kind of show you that if you go under the specific minigame tab thing where it tracks all the minigames you found and you can play them individually. When you go to the character select on that, it shows you who's the best for the minigame and who's the worst for that minigame. Granted, that doesn't necessarily mean that affects who you want to use for that minigame, since there are missions in the game that are required to get more coins. I really don't. There's no reward for 100% in this game, except for knowing you did it. So I kind of quit going after 100% after I realized that. Anyway, so you get coins for doing it, basically. And the coins can be exchanged for random items, although each day there are specific items you can get at discount. At some point, I was like, oh, this is one of those games where I'd either have to alter the time in my Switch or keep playing it over several different days, and I wasn't going to do that. I was like, I just kind of want to finish this game. Yeah. Anyway, the Wario Cup's kind of the same thing. It seems like it changes over time. And it definitely recommends online connection for using the Wario Cup trial stuff. You can do it offline, but it definitely seems to imply you should do it online. Is there anything else I was trying to remember? Okay. So, anyways, you get the coins for doing the different challenges, and some of these challenges are where I decided I'm not going to complete the game. For example, there's a challenge that requires specifically that you, on the Drop the Bank, which is one of the very first levels set of mini games, or is it the second one? It might be the second one. Whatever, who cares? Whatever set it's from, who cares? Whatever set it's from, there's a drop the bank mini game where there's a pig on top of like blocks, and there's like a stool. You need to hit the blocks in such a way that the pig, and once it falls and cracks open, whatever, that's how you win. However, there is a challenge. Now, on the third level, which has the most blocks, obviously, to clear all the blocks off the stool. Now, I consider myself relatively smart, although there are games that make me question it. If you see my Prince of Persia, I talk about that a lot lately. Uh, Let's Play, you'll have seen me being pretty stupid. Just duh. But I seriously tried to do this multiple different characters and was not figuring it out until I finally looked it up, and I was just like, what? So apparently you gotta use from the Volt family. I'm gonna call them the Volt family. I'm not sure if they're all related. The mom character. I think her name's 9 Volt, but don't quote me. I don't remember their numbers. Her little ability where she zips over to where her dream possession thingy is, and it goes psh. You need to get that exactly in the middle of all those blocks and just hope RNG's on your side. Sometimes you can get on the first go like somebody I read online did. Sometimes you can be like me and after 3 or 4 times finally get it and then be like, yeah, you know what? I'm not going after these challenges anymore. Because there are other ones that are just like, wait, what do I gotta do? Like, for example, there's a mini game. You gotta turn the valve on or off, depending on what it tells you to do. Apparently, there's a way to turn it off without turning the valve. I have no clue what it wants me to do, and I didn't look it up, and I don't know. I just decided I wasn't messing with it. I was like, you know what? I don't care. I just don't. Sometimes I just don't want to know. It's just one of those things. At some point, it decided, yeah, it's not worth the headaches of trying to figure that out. But the gameplay is simplistic. You just, you got your directions and pressing a button. Pretty much anybody could play it. I don't know what it's rated. I believe it might be rated everyone, but I wouldn't quote it because I don't know. I don't remember, and I didn't really pay attention because it doesn't affect me personally. But anybody could play the game. Just takes some patience and maybe a little bit of research if you get stuck on something. I mean, that's pretty much it for the game. The point of the coins in the game, like I said, there's like a little gacha thing inside the game. The little chicken egg things that hatch in their little prizzles or something like that. They're basically mini prizes, and you can give them to each of the characters to level the characters up. This affects how much their score is worth in the Wario Cup, so it's worth doing before doing Wario Cup if you can. There's also challenges that you unlock once you beat the game. You gotta. I don't know if it unlocks after the first time of beating the game, because there's like a beating the main game, and then there's like a. It's a the end question mark, and then there's more levels that unlock, and you finish all those to get the real ending. And then that's when I went back to the menu and was like, okay, there's challenges, I guess. And you can select each one and do them. Completing the missions obviously does it. And completing the challenges is also part of the missions, so double points, whatever. There's no reward for getting all the prizzles unlocked. I had enough Wario coins from just replaying the same levels over and over and over, trying to do missions where you unlock all the stuff and where you achieve a certain score on each level, which I quit doing at some point. I didn't time myself on how long I spent just doofing off, but I would say I easily spent over 7 hours and was not complete with it. How long to beat had like 10.5 as the completion time, and I just don't think that's right. Maybe it's update assisted, maybe more people have played the game. I don't know. I would say it's easily over 20 hours. I mean, it depends on your skill level, but I wasn't even messing up that much, and I still was taking a very long time to get anything done, especially since you have to grind so many Wario coins in order to get all the Prizzles because Prizzles is random unless you want to just keep changing your clock in your Switch, which I feel like might take longer if you timed the time it takes to switch your Switch's clock. I don't know, that's neither here nor there. I'm not really gonna count that towards the time. I'm just gonna say the base game. It's roughly 3 to 4 hours. I took 3.5. Maybe 5 hours if you're struggling. Um, it is a very replayable game, at least I can tell you that. Despite the fact it's so short, that's like the thrill of the game is it's very replayable. You could keep replaying it and replaying it and replaying it and not get annoyed or bored with it. Because there's just so much to do, and there's the challenge of always going for the higher score. Um, I think there's more of a thrill if you're not playing it single player, though. I think that's the only holdback for me. I'm playing it single player. I don't have anybody I'm playing the game with. So at some point, I start to be like, I don't see the point for aiming for a higher score. And plus, some of the stuff you unlock is intentionally meant for multiplayer. If you want to play it, there's a way to play it by yourself, but you're just sitting there with two controllers mashing the A button like a strange person. And it's just, that's not fun. The point of playing a game is to have fun. And that's where the mini games come in. They're fun to an extent. I think after a point, if you're just playing by yourself, you would be like, all right, I'm gonna go do something else. But that doesn't mean it wouldn't be one of those games that you maybe play it for a couple of days and then leave it alone for a couple months and then come back to it and be like, I'm having fun again. As I definitely do that with other WarioWare titles. For example, I have WarioWare Touch installed on my 3DS. Every now and then I go back and still have fun with it. But it doesn't mean I don't sometimes walk away from it and be like, yeah, I'm done with this game for now. That's just how the WarioWare games work, I think. They are categorized as party games, so they're definitely intended for multiplayer audiences. So that's something to keep in mind. I could still see it being worth playing, possibly even owning if you know that you like the WarioWare titles. That's basically the case of it. I don't know if it has a demo available, but I'd say if any WarioWare game has a demo, or if you have a way to play a WarioWare game, that would basically be the basis of whether you like it or not. That it's WarioWare. It's one of those unique franchises that if you've played one WarioWare, you've played them all. And if you like WarioWare, you like WarioWare. And if you don't like WarioWare, don't play WarioWare. That's basically the case with that particular series, from what I can tell. I don't know that there's anything else quite like it. It's just so unique in what it is. I think if you've seen somebody playing WarioWare and you think, well, that's stupid, you ain't gonna like it. If you watched it and thought, yeah, that might be fun, I would look ridiculous playing it, but it would be fun, then you would like it. It's that simple. It's one of those things. It is a ridiculous series because Wario is ridiculous. The storyline's always about Wario wanting to make money and causing issues along the way, which is kind of his thing. Yeah, that's about all there is to know about the game. WarioWare Get Together is like any other WarioWare game, which is why I rented it through GameFly. I don't need to own more than one WarioWare game because they all pretty much are the same. Once you've played all the mini games, you've experienced what there is, and you really only need one to keep coming back to. So it's up to you whether or not that's your particular WarioWare, I guess. It isn't really mine, although I do gotta admit, the Nintendo Classics section with, what is he, 5 volt? I don't know. The Kid Volt, the little boy. all of his are direct references to various Nintendo games, and it's very obvious and it's very entertaining. And those are my favorite parts of all the WarioWare games. I always like seeing those specific mini games and going, I know that game. Especially when it's like the Zelda reference or the Donkey Kong reference. I'm like, oh yeah, I know exactly what to do. I don't have to question it like I do with the other mini games where I'm like, I'm doing what now? uh, and yeah, I mean, I could see me eventually buying it just because I do like replaying them occasionally. I'm just like, yeah, yeah. But it's also kind of like one of those things like I like arcadey games. That's one of those things. I get a thrill out of the game that you would waste your quarters on just being like, I'm gonna beat this. I'm gonna beat this. I'm gonna get the best score. And then walking away from it for a while and then eventually going back to it. Oh yeah. And I actually have they're called a fight pad. But I use it specifically for arcade style games. So I used it for the WarioWare games, and I just had a ball with it. That's just my personal preference, though. I mean, maybe that's something you've not thought of to do and might enjoy doing if you have one. I know the fight pad's meant for like Street Fighter, Tekken, stuff like that, but legit, since you only need the toggle and one button, you could play that game using that. You can set up exactly to do that because you don't need any of the other buttons or or controls to play the game, and is some of the most entertaining bit of time I've had. And I don't know why. It was like one of those like yeah. So I mean, you could turn it to like your own in-home arcade experience if you wanted, basically. Compete for like high scores. That's how I see it. Maybe you think something different. Tell me in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and comment. I just said comment. Links and stuff are in the description. I hope you've enjoyed. I know I've repeated myself a little bit, but I'm trying to explain what I mean about like the arcadey feel. But if you know what I'm talking about, you know. If you don't, you don't. Until next time, when I hopefully have something more intelligent to say. Bye bye.